The Inland Sports Show is brought to you by Spoiled. Quick, quality oil change. Spoil yourself and your car at Spoiled. Kin Sporting Goods. They have all of your sporting gear needs, Letterman's jackets, and team uniforms. And Boost Performance Training with Coach Ray Bass. Athletes of all levels and all sports are going to Boost Performance Training in Corona.
Thank God, first of all. I thank the great people that I've got around me that help support me, the people that work for me. As I started, if it wasn't for the people around me, we probably wouldn't be here right now, but I've got a great staff. I've got great people that do stuff for us outside the store, and we've been very, very fortunate. Our service is impeccable, and we just keep trying to get better every year. We can do online stuff for your teams, as well as, like I said, the screen printing, the embroidery. We also have 3 women that do extra sewing for us, like tackle tool on uniforms, or the bling or rhinestones for different shirts for the ladies. That's why we have certain racks just for certain schools, and the fun about that is that it turns into other schools that may come in here that aren't as close, that we can do stuff for them as well. We've had very, very good customers throughout the years, and it's just been a blast.
What's going on, guys? Coach Bass here from Boost Training, letting you know, if you haven't already, check out my new series of videos called 2 cents in 20 seconds, where I'll be talking about everything from strength training, motivation, and everything in between. You can find it on our social media platforms, on Instagram at Boost Training, on Facebook, search for Boost Training, or on Twitter, Boost_Training. Check it out. And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show. We're going to wrap things up. We saved the best for last because we got 4 segments. So he's our cleanup hitter. It's Jim Alexander. Can I say from the Press Enterprise or the Southern California News Group, or what?
I would say the Southern California News Group, based in Riverside at the Press Enterprise.
You're a nomad of sorts, right?
I am a nomad. So I'm everywhere.
Where have you been lately, Jim?
Okay, Sunday I was at Dodger Stadium. Thursday, I was at Honda Center for the NCAA West
March
Regional.
Madness.
March Madness. I was at the Honda Center for the Big West tournament before that. I was at Cal Baptist when they played in their CBI first round game.
Did you stay for both, the women's and the men's game?
I did. Mm-hmm. I did. And the women in the WNIT. So, and that was kind of an interesting experience. I mean, the idea, you're a first-year Division I team, and you get a taste of the postseason. And both teams lost, but still, that's a good experience for the guys that are coming back.
Yeah, and you and I have seen a lot of basketball, a lot of local Division I schools that have made that transition over the years. Have you seen a school like CBU do it so seamless as they did this past season?
Never. In
everything?
Never. And yeah, and in fact, I was talking to one of their people today about it's amazing that they've done so much in every sport. I mean, you go back to the start of volleyball season, and their team went into Mississippi State and won a tournament and started out 4-0. And it was like that kick-started the season. That kick-started everything. And their soccer teams were good, both basketball teams. And you just go right down the list. Their cross-country teams, their baseball teams started out well. I mean, it's amazing. And it speaks to the resources that they've gotten and the commitment from the very top, from the university president, Ron Ellis, to make this work.
It was funny because we saw Gary Adcock before the baseball season started, and he had loaded up their schedule with a lot of tough games.
and he saw everyone else winning. He's like, oh my gosh, the pressure's on. Everyone else is winning. We get to the spring sports, baseball, softball, whatnot. They're going to have to win too. So, but they're doing just fine.
And then they started out 8-0.
Yeah, so they got nothing to worry about. But you were at Dodger Stadium, a guy who might have something to worry about. The pride of Corona High School. He's also a UCR guy, Joe Kelly, who famously came over from the Red Sox. He was the Dodgers' nemesis in the World Series.
And going back before that to 2013, when he stuck a fastball in Hanley Ramirez's ribs. Somebody mentioned on Twitter the other night, Joe Kelly just stuck another one in the ribs for the Dodgers the last 2 outings.
Not off to a good start.
Not off to a good start. And I was kind of worried about, why should I worry? I mean, it's not my paycheck, but, I like the guy. He's a good guy. And to come into a situation like this and to get off to a bad start, there's one thing about Dodger fans is that if you are a relief pitcher and you get off to a bad start, you get a couple or 3 bad outings, they remember.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like Brandon League a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Ronald Belisario.
Because they've gone through this before.
Pedro Baez had some bad outings, and all of a sudden he was public enemy number 1, getting booed every time he stepped onto the field. So, I mean, Joe Kelly's going to have to put together 5 or 6 or 7 good outings in a row to kind of remove the taste of this. But it's going to be difficult for a while. And the good thing is, and I was not at last night's game, but from what I understand, he stood up after the game. He talked to the media. He, accepted the responsibility. And he said, if I was a fan, I'd boo me too. I'm not happy either. So I hope maybe fans appreciate that, hey, here's somebody who cares as much as you do.
Yeah.
And cares more than you do. And a lot of times, I think that's why fans get upset, because they get the sense that they care more than the players do, or management.
Yeah, and we all cover baseball, and for the casual fan, they might not know the confidence level we've seen Joe Kelly over the past few years. I mean, he's a character on the field, he's a character off the field, but he's a great pitcher, and it's a small sample size of what they're going to get from him. He's going to bounce right back.
Yeah, and in Boston, it was basically the same thing last year. He had some peaks and valleys. He had a couple stretches where he was struggling with his command and getting hit and walking people, and people were upset and they were booing, and everybody was wondering, well, what is this guy going to give us in the postseason? Get to the postseason, he was nails. Yeah. He was outstanding. So I think the Dodgers are looking at the long play here, and that's why Andrew Friedman signed him. The idea that this is a guy that we can depend on in the postseason. That's their theory. That's what they're looking at. So it's a long season. They've only played 4 games. Yeah. So there's a long way to go.
Yeah, I do stuff on KCAL radio, KCAL 96.7. They're like, why is Mike Trout off to a slow start? I'm like, slow start? What are you talking about? Dude, it's been 2 games, and I think he had a double or 2. Well, if you're a Dodger fan, don't worry.
This is the one area in which baseball and the NFL are alike. Opening day is the prime day for overreaction throughout Major League Baseball. The only difference, in the NFL season, you have 16 opening days. People overreact after every game. Mm-hmm. So it calms down in baseball after a while. Usually around the 100 at-bat mark, maybe a month in, then you kind of get an idea if somebody's really struggling or if there are trends at work. But until then, let it go.
Yeah.
Heck, they booed Bryce Harper day 1. That tells you something right there. But yeah, and talking about Mike Trout signed that giant contract. Mike Trout, and he's never been that guy that you're going to show up and go, I'm going to see he's going to go up and hit 3 home runs every game. He's not that guy. He's a consistent ball player. And I think, like I said, the casual fan looks at it as they show up to a game, they expect Babe Ruth-type numbers every single night.
Yeah, I think maybe the way we measure things now and using WAR and using the advanced metrics, and you see those, and you say, well, he had a year that was better than Babe Ruth or what have you, or just as good. People see that and they think, he's going to come in and dazzle us. And that's not the way baseball is.
No.
I mean, you can't just dial it up one game and I'm going to hit 3 home runs. I'm going to hit a home run for a sick kid in the hospital or what have you. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Once in a while.
Once in a while, but not very often.
Jim, you also covered March Madness. I believe in Anaheim, was Texas Tech there?
Yes.
So you saw Texas Tech in, was it Michigan?
Texas Tech played Michigan, and Michigan, I don't know what got into Michigan.
That's his team.
They were playing like they'd been infected by the Tigers and the Lions and the Red Wings. I mean, it was just horrible.
I had them all the way.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody had the Final Four.
Texas Tech.
Yeah, I don't think anybody had anything to it. Everybody thought Gonzaga. Everybody thought North Carolina.
Well, Gonzaga was there too. You saw them,
Gonzaga was there. In fact, that's what I wrote about the first night. And I made sure to drop Jimmy Kimmel's name in the column too. I mean, that was a beautiful thing. I don't know if you guys have been following it, but he had been doing a routine over a few days span that he wasn't sure that the school Gonzaga actually existed. They have a basketball team. He wasn't sure that they actually had a campus. And the great thing about it is that the Gonzaga people went along with it. One night they had their play-by-play guy and a bunch of people in the audience, and right next to him were the Tooth Fairy and the
Bigfoot,
Easter Bunny and whatnot. And then the next, Donnie Daniels, one of their assistant coaches, went along with a gag and he did an interview and whatnot. It's fun and it's great publicity for Gonzaga. But,
I remember 20 years ago, like when I was in high school, they were a Cinderella team. They've done it now consistently for 20, 25 years. I mean, they're just one of the top programs in the country, period.
And the funny thing is I talked to Long Beach State coach Dan Munson, who was their coach.
You wrote a
before
great article about that.
Their coach that first year when they got to the tournament and did some damage. And as far as Mark Few is concerned, he's still part of the family. He's invited to meetings and film sessions and practices and whatnot. So it's like once you're in forever.
He's probably thinking, man, if I would have just.
Well, you think about it, that all has really a Big West connection, and we talk UCR basketball. We've covered John Smith going to Cal Poly, but Donnie Daniels was once the head coach at Cal State.
He was a player at Fullerton, I believe, too, and he was the coach. He was an assistant coach there, and then he was the head coach. Then he went to UCLA as an assistant.
That's right.
For Ben Howland, and then he went up to Gonzaga, and I guess he loves it up there.
And he is now, in fact, got into the assistant coaches basketball Hall of Fame this week. Was nominated and actually going in.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
Jim, did you come away feeling like Texas Tech was the best team? Were you like, wow, I didn't know the Red Raiders were this good?
I wasn't sure what to think. It's just like defensively, they just put a stranglehold on you. And, I don't know how that will play in the Final Four, but it gives them a good shot.
Long since passed of the days of Bobby Knight at Texas Tech.
And they got Michigan State, right? And on the other side, it's Auburn and Virginia on the other side. So.
All right. It's going to be a wide open Final Four.
I hope so. At this point, like I said, I had Michigan going all the way, so I don't even care at this point. I just want some good games.
I had Virginia. I had Tennessee. I had Tennessee going all the way. And our bracket's busted, but I still beat Pep.
This is how it works. Whoever plays in the national championship game, loser gets the UCLA job.
Oh my gosh, right?
I do have info.
Now that UCLA made John Calipari rich at Kentucky.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Nice use of leverage.
I do have some inside knowledge of the UCLA deal, which we'll talk off the air. Yes, I do.
You can't hint at anything?
I'm all ears.
I think it's somebody.
He's carefully crafting what he's saying right now. Let's hear this.
He has West Coast ties.
Okay.
Mark Few.
But he is a very good coach and is still playing, but maybe not in the big dance. But he's still playing. In fact, they're playing right now as we speak. As we speak, they are playing right now.
They're playing right now. What does that mean?
There's another.
It could be one of 4 tournaments,
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that is the inside track. I'll tell Jim off the air, and I'll tell you when I call you tonight.
All right. Well, Jim's going to get that scoop. But Jim, before we wrap,
that'll be in the SCNG paper soon.
Before we wrap things up, what are you working on next? What can we look for?
Well, tomorrow's column, which is already up online, I give some thoughts about compensation for NCAA athletes and how there's ways it can be done a lot better than it is now. I think that's the one thing that it bothers me. I don't know how much it bothers other people, but it bothers me that you've got this stack of cash that's changing hands. I mean, from the TV networks to the NCAA to the schools or the shoe companies or what have you, and the players aren't getting anything. And the players are not allowed to make anything off of their likeness or their image or what have you. I mean, they can't. To me, it's exploitative.
Yeah.
And I have some thoughts about how to solve that.
Like Johnny Manziel, the example. Remember, they basically rebuilt the stadium because of all the money they made off of him at Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and then he got in trouble for signing autographs for pay.
Yes, exactly.
Because that's kind of a sensitive subject these days. Hello, Lynch One.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, Jim, we appreciate the time. Jim, what's your Twitter handle as well?
It's at Jim_Alexander.
There it is. You can follow him on Twitter.
Please do.
He's given up. What did you say? The chisel or
He was cute. He used to write in cuneiform back in the day with the hammer and chisel into rock.
Now it's all over.
Now
His
I think he has
it's all on the phone.
I think you have a blue check, don't you?
I do.
Oh, see,
He's verified.
He's verified, whatever that means.
It's a very big deal.
It is always been a big deal.
We'll never get that. All right.
It means I've survived.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, John Smith. Thank you to Jermaine Jones of the Ontario Fury and, of course, the UC Riverside softball team in the house. We appreciate it. Big thanks to Johnny Nunez, Anthony Trujillo, and the entire team here at Teen Vision TV 16 for coming in every single night. They had their Starbucks. I know the caffeine was flowing to stay late, so we do appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next Tuesday on the Inland Sports Show.